me ask you, I mentioned the president, Governor, and of course he is open to folks who want, if you want to boycott Harley-Davidson, a big employer in your state, go ahead. How do you feel about that?
Well, I want Harley-Davidson to succeed. I'm a Harley rider myself. I'll be out in a few weeks for the 115th anniversary. I've got a 100th anniversary road king myself. So I want Harley-Davidson to succeed here in Wisconsin. I don't want to boycott. But to me, the best way for them to succeed ultimately...
Have you told the president that sentiment is complicating your efforts here?
Well, ultimately, I've talked to the president, to Wilbur Ross, to the vice president, and others about the fact that the best way for them and other manufacturers and farmers to succeed in the state is to have happen what the president himself said at the G7. He said to the European Union and other officials, that is, get to no tariffs. If we have no tariffs in America, if we have no tariffs with our trading partners, Harley-Davidson, manufacturers, farmers, and others all across my state,
you know what the president was saying,
compete.
Governor? You know what the president was saying? That this move to announce some jobs overseas was already sort of baked into the proverbial cake. They were going to do this, and they used the excuse of those tariffs and a potential trade war to justify it. What did you think of that?
Well, I think in the end, again, that's why, to me, I'm about getting things solved, not just about commenting on it, but rather solutions. And to me, the best solution for Harley and any of the other companies and farmers in this state is let's get to no tariffs. The president brought it up at the G7. We latched on to that. I talked about that at the Select USA Summit when I was being interviewed by Wilbur Ross in front of thousands of people from around the world. Talked to the president, vice president about it. The best thing we could do is get to where the president himself said we should be. That is no tariffs. I was in South Korea last year on a trade mission in Seoul. I saw Harley-Davidson dealerships because we've got a good trade deal that has moved down to a point where we're headed towards no tariffs as well.
I understand, sir, but what would it tell you, though, that let's say this tariff thing is resolved to everyone's liking and the company still moves people abroad? Would you feel like you were hosed here?
Oh, I think there's no doubt. I've talked to Harley officials over the years. I know them well. Again, I'm a Harley rider. I'm an enthusiast. Right. I know that if you don't have tariffs here, they not only make the bikes that they make to sell in America, which they currently do, no change there. They would make as many motorcycles as they could if there were no tariffs.
So they have already told you, Governor, they will stop this right midstream if this thing is resolved?
Well, again, that's been part of their long-term plan. For them, they want to make as many bikes as they can in America. They currently make them entirely for the American market. I know, but
they're going to make a bunch overseas now. You say if this stuff is done on the trade front, have they committed to you that they won't do that?
Oh, I think there's no doubt. For years, they've signaled that if the price was right, and for their standpoint, if you don't have tariffs affecting trade policies around the world, of course they want to make these bikes here in America, and that's why we want them to be profitable. It's a lot cheaper to make them abroad.
See, that's what breeds the cynicism, Governor, that they're doing this and using this as an excuse. You don't buy that. You take them at their word that if the tariffs go away, they're not going to do this.
Absolutely. I think if you don't have tariffs, which is ultimately what the president's talking about, and I wish there'd been more discussion about that at the G7, because not only for Harley, for other manufacturers, for farmers and others, we don't have tariffs, we can compete with anyone in the world. Our workers, our farmers, our manufacturers, we can compete with anyone in the world. Just give us a level playing field, and that's what the president's ultimately talking about.
You know, Governor, when you were running up for president, I mean, you were, very straightforward about, what you had orchestrated in Wisconsin. You didn't go very far, but the president engendered a great deal of, at the time, the candidate, a lot of criticism from those in the party, including your Minnesota neighbor, Tim Pawlenty, of course, who lost out on a shot to get a crack at his old job. And it came at a time where the president apparently still remembered Governor Pawlenty calling him unhinged. You avoided strong language like that. But do you think that it is simply better to be on good terms with this president than bad?
Well, I want to get things done for the people of my state. We just got an approval of a waiver a couple weeks ago, for example, that allows me to create our Wisconsin healthcare stability plan that will lower premiums, increase the number of choices, and improve healthcare for our farmers and small business owners who purchase healthcare on the individual market. Under Obamacare, their premiums have gone up 44%. I got my legislature, Democrats and Republicans alike, to go along with it, but I needed the administration to help us. The past administration under Obama didn't do things like that. This administration did, so I'm going to do what I can to fight for the people of the state of Wisconsin. And when I can have a good connection, not just to the president and the vice president, but to anyone in Washington who'd be willing to help the people of my state, I'm obviously going to look to enhance that. And if on occasion I disagree with them, I'm going to disagree with them and stand up for the people of Wisconsin.
Governor, we're very close to a NAFTA deal, we're told, with Mexico, not necessarily with Canada. In fact, I was surprised to learn yesterday when they had that spray in the cabinet room, the president hasn't even been talking to the Canadians for some time. Does that concern you that we might get half a NAFTA deal with Mexico, maybe not with Canada?
Well, Canada is our #1 trading partner in Wisconsin, as it is in many states. We want to have a good trading relationship with them. But this is a prime example of, even before all this talk about the recent tariffs, Canada, particularly in Quebec, put on price controls on what's called ultra-filtered milk. That in turn led to more than 50 Wisconsin dairy farmers being let loose from a company called Grassland. That's a good example where unfair trade practices are a detriment to farmers and manufacturers and workers in my state, and similarly in other states across the nation. We need a level playing field. We should get there. We're a good trading partner with Canada. They are with us. Let's just get to a level playing field, like the president said, in Canada at the G7.
The mood right now in Washington is always tense, and in the midterm election year, as you know, Governor, and the president has been catching fire for going after the media and going after those national security officials in prior administrations who've gone after him, going so far as to remove security clearances for former CIA Director Brennan. Others could follow. How do you feel about that?
Well, in the end, you talked about in the pretense of the midterms. I believe whether it's for governor, U.S. Senate, House seat in the House of Representatives, or even a local state lawmaker, voters are smart. Over the years, at least in our state, for sure they are. We've gone through, as you mentioned, a number of races where we got national attention as to what we're doing. They're going to look at the details. They're going to look at the facts. They're going to look at the comparison. In my case here in Wisconsin, they're going to look at the difference between going forward or taking a giant U-turn and going backwards. I don't want to go back to the days of double-digit tax increases, billion-dollar budget deficits, and record job loss. Those are the policies that my opponent, Tony Evers, embraces right now. I don't think people want to go back there. Particularly, I got two sons, Matt and Alex, who are 24 and 23, both live and work in the state of Wisconsin. Years ago, Tonette, my wife, and I were worried back when things were bad, when unemployment was over 9%, that they were going to be able to grow up and not find a job, let alone a career. Today, there are literally more career opportunities in the state of Wisconsin than there are people unemployed to fill them. And that's why we want people to come. Check out our plan, scottwalker.com. Help us join in this fight. We can prevail against those national wins, but we've got to have help, and we've got to have it at the grassroots level.
You know, Governor, I'm just thinking, they're 23 and 24. I'm old enough to remember covering you in the earliest days when they were just getting ready for college. So I don't know who's aging.
Right.
I don't know who's aging faster here. But Governor, thank you very much for taking the time. We very much appreciate it. Be well.
Thanks, Dale. Great to be with you.
All right, Governor Scott Walker.